Hey, hello everybody. It's Justin Case from American's Perspective, and I'm here with a legend in my mind. I hope he's somebody you'll enjoy. This is Jeff Griffin of Griffin Motivation. Jeff is the type of person that he leaves people better than he found them. And what I mean by that is when he gets done with you, you'll be in a better place. And that's a good thing. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to American's Perspective. It's good to see you.
Justin, thank you so much for having me on here. I appreciate that.
Well, Jeff, you've been a good friend to us for many, many years, and now you've become a personal friend, and I don't know how to make that up to you, but why don't you meet the audience and give us some of your magic?
I'd love to. I'd love to shine some light. In fact, my mother named me Jeffrey, but my friends call me Griff. And so, Justin, if you're not calling me Griff by the end of this or during this, then this is my last time that I'm.
I know, but Jeff, having been an Olympic basketball player, and I'm sure you could just get everybody to call you Griff because they wanted to, but you'll always be Jeff to me. So maybe this is the last one. And I mean Jeff in all due respect. And I don't call you Jeffrey, but I'll try. But don't depend on me.
That's good. That's good. Hey, listen, Jeff is a 4-letter word. Griff's 4-letter word. Maybe Griff is 5, but whatever. I'm just happy to be here. But for your listeners that don't know who I am, my dream was to play football in college as collegiate athletes. Was one step closer when Lavelle Edwards, the legendary Hall of Fame coach from BYU, invited me to come play for his program. And I got to taste the sweetness of success and played 2 down. And in between seasons, I broke my back, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. And so I had to pick up the pieces and dust myself off and dream new dreams. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do now? I've done a couple stuff. I've done a few things in my life. Right after my accident, I was going back to school. And then after I graduated, I was a banker for 3 years, the youngest trust manager in that bank. That was not very fulfilling. And so I went on to go teach high school and college. I did that for 17 years, but my dream, my mission, my passion is to be on stage and to speak to the world, to help them overcome what I believe is the number one constraint in the world today. As I mentioned, I was paralyzed from the waist down, and when I come rolling out on stage, I address the elephant in the room about how good looking I am.
You are good looking. You are good looking, Jeff. With
Yeah,
chair.
we'll take
With chair.
yes. We'll take that. But I do address the elephant that I did go from 6'1" to 4'7". I am in a wheelchair, and people can see that I'm paralyzed physically. And I've learned over these years that most of us, if not all of us, Justin, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency. And that's the pandemic that plagues us. Is this this idea of not believing that we have the capacity to achieve our dreams and desires, not believing that we have the tools, not believing that we have that song inside our soul that needs to be sung to the world. And so I share a few things on stage. I call them the 3Ds. They're the 3 gold nuggets: desire, dream, and do. But because I went from 6'1" to 4'7", I see things different. And I've learned that different isn't always better, but better is always different. And if we want to make things better, we're going to have to think different. And that's what I get to do, is I get to help expand people's minds, challenge their thoughts a little bit, and inspire them to ask questions, because great questions lead to great discoveries.
Absolutely. And I've always found you to be inspirational, for 2 reasons. Your story and that whole adage of overcoming. Overcoming adversity builds a tremendous amount of character. And we all have adversity. Everybody has some form of adversity in their life, and we should all be striving to overcome those. And you're one of those witch doctors. I bet you know, never been called a witch doctor, that helps provide us with solutions to doing that. And that's how you leave us better than you find us?
Yeah, I've been blessed to have a great mentor called my mother,
Yeah.
and my mom learned life lessons. And when she grew up in between the Great Depression and World War II. She didn't see a balloon until she was 13 years old. She grew up on a farm, and she learned her life lessons knee deep in cow poop. And one time I remember going into her office when I was probably about the same age that she learned this lesson, but on her computer was this yellow sticky note, corner of the computer. And on that sticky note, I can remember this day, it said that trials are like manure. They sure do stink, but they certainly help things grow. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty amazing. But in my mind, I always want to simplify things. And so I'm like, all right, how can I change that to fit me and my personality? And I'm like, okay, yeah. Turn your crap into a crop. My mom and my grandfather would gather up all that cow poop and put it in the back of his tractor, and he would go and spread it on the field, and it would double his yield. And so some people look at that like, oh my gosh, that is a bunch of crap. Where my grandfather looked at it and says, oh my gosh, this is going to yield me 3x, 5x, 10x of the crop that I planted in that field. And so many of us have planted some seeds in the past. I call it, seeds of dreams. And some of us have forgotten about it. Others, have like, what it's impossible. So the experts are right. I can't do this, whatever it may be. But one thing that I want to share with you and your listeners today is this idea of how can I flip the switch and reframe my reality? How can I see things as they really are instead of what I think they are? Or how can I see things as I want them to be instead of what everyone is telling me it is? Now, I'm not suggesting that we pretend and we do all these things and have these unrealistic dreams. What's interesting is Madame Curie was told there's no more elements to be found, but she found 2 and a Nobel Prize. The Wright brothers were told that you can't control flight, but now we can go across the United States or the world in a matter of hours. And indoor plumbing and running water was a distant memory in the past. And climbing Mount Everest was deemed impossible in the past as well. And so, how can we change the impossible into the possible? And one way I believe is we need to be willing to flip the switch and be willing to ask the questions. Some of us don't even know what questions to ask. And so the beauty of it is we've discovered some questions that we can help people discover who they are on a subconscious level, because clarity is one of the key things that a lot of people are missing. A lot of us, some people might be thinking, Justin, that, well, I don't even know what dreams I want. I don't even know what visions I want. And most of us don't know what we want. And unfortunately, where we focus is, where our thoughts go, and what we think about is what we get. And so if we continue to think about what we don't want, we're going to continue to get that. And so it's like, okay, well, how can I even come up with the dream? How can I even revisit, that song that sang inside my soul? How can I get rid of those weeds that I've already planted this dream in the fields and they've choked it out? And so people, lack clarity and they lack belief. And we have a thing called dream reading that will help people identify what they want, their dream, their Everest, their vision, their why. And in as little as 10 minutes, they can discover what they want. Most times, though, the first time we do it, it takes about 90 minutes to 2 hours to do that. But that's on a subconscious level, to find some clarity about who you are on a subconscious level. We also have I have a partner who has discovered 54 genetic markers that identify what lights you up on a genetic level and what motivates you on a genetic level. And so, that's called Meet Yourself. And so we can help people find that clarity on a genetic level and also on a subconscious level. And then just recently, these last 6 months, discovered a guy. He helped introduce the Intel processing chip. He was the head of the 600 engineers that brought that processing chip to us a couple of decades ago. And he's been to other places as well. And he's the AI behind the AI. He's like, if you've seen Goodwill Hunting, he's wicked smart. That's my Boston accent, by the way. Don't make fun of it.
Okay, I won't.
But he's wicked smart, and he and his partner, who coded the X-ray machine that still is working to this day, they've put these processes, these Fortune 100 processes, and these questions in place to challenge us as leaders, to challenge our perspective, to challenge the way we see things, the way we do business, the way we do business with people, the way we do business with each other, the way we communicate. And because we get to a certain level, we've been riding that automatic co-pilot system that we've just been doing things in autopilot because we've learned how to identify things. We've learned how to see the red flags and whatnot, and then and so that causes us to shut down and not see the other signals, or not even look at the other paths. And so with Meet Yourself, with Dream Weaving, and with this new tool, Chrysalis,
Wow.
we have a way to help people ask the right questions so that they can see things different, or better said, they see things better.
Jeff, I've always said the first step is self-assessment. But until you know how to honestly do that self-assessment, any tool you can provide to shorten that process is going to help us all in whatever we're striving to do.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is it's finding the simplicity on the far side of complexity. This life is complex, and sometimes we've been convinced to look at life a certain way, but all we have to do is just flip the switch and reframe things a little bit. Turn our crap and turn it into a crop, or take our mess and turn it into our message, or find the can in cancer. All these things that you probably heard out there. But again, it's like, how can I rewire my thinking, rewire my brain? So a lot of people think that it's motivation, that it's not. It's just neuroscience. It's again, how do we tap into the laws of life? Because if we can tap into the laws of life, we're going to get the results. And that's what I love about the law of harvest, is we reap what we sow. And some of us are asking the wrong questions, and some of us are looking at the wrong solutions. And all we have to do is just reframe just a little bit and shift our thinking. And so with these assessments, it's amazing to see the results that happen as people are willing to take a look at this brief and simple and powerful tool that we have.
Well, it certainly make us more efficient. Give us so much more time for our vices, for our golf games, and for our things that aren't really helping us. No, I like it. I'm anxious to learn more about this. How am I going to do that?
Well, if you want more information, just reach out to me. Go to griffinmotivation.com/contact, or just go to griffinmotivation.com. My social handles are at the top. You can go to the bottom, and there's the contact page that you can reach out to me. But that's probably the easiest and most efficient way to do so. And then we can just and you just let us know what you're interested in. Like, what, I'm interested in dream weaving. I'm interested in identifying that vision, that dream that I've like stuffed down into the bottom of my soul. Or maybe it's like, I really want to see if my dream matches up with my genes, because there's some people who are like not genetically predisposed to do the things that they're doing. And the worst thing to do in life is to be good at something that you hate. But some of us are really good at it.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. I want people to learn how to love whatever they do. I mean, whatever you do. whatever you do. It's just like your grandfather. You drove by the farm. Somebody said it smells like manure. He said, yeah, it smells like money, because
Yeah.
that's what it was. So, wow, this is an exciting phase of Griffin motivation. And Griffin motivation is really, I hate to let anybody let the secret out, but it's Griffin transformation. You're helping us transform. You're not on the desk giving us a rah-rah speech. You're giving us the tools to try and help us get where we want to go, make us better people, better spouses, all those things.
100%. Because how many people do you know, Justin, who's barely breathing and calling it a life, instead of living a life that takes their breath away? And that's what we want to do, is we want to take people from the gray and bring them to the 4K. If I'm going to use some visuals here, but we want to take people from the gray and let them experience the 4K. Because once you have that dream in mind, it's being beckoned to it. You're being drawn to it instead of being dragged to it, and life just changes. It really does. And what's interesting is a lot of people who think we are in a world of hurts, and there is some hurt if you look at it, but we're also in a world of opportunity. And so it's like, how can I be the change in the world? How can I be the change that leads to courage, that leads to hope, that leads to faith, that leads to, a better life? And most importantly, as I mentioned at the very beginning, my mother named me Jeffrey, but my friends call me Griff. And I want everybody, me personally, I want everybody to remember me as a man that lifted their spirits, lightened their loads, and loved them.
Absolutely.
And so if we're walking around in darkness, we can't have our light shine. And so that's really what I want to do, is help bring people out of the shadows of society and let them shine, and let them be that beacon of light and hope and love, and give them clarity.
Well, you posed the question to me, and then you answered it. But people that find themselves being negative or angry, if you're angry, you're in your own way. You're in your own way. And that light, and I think the greatest compliment I can give you is that you leave people better than you found them. There's so few resources in the world to do that. And this is it's your goal, it's your passion, it's your profession. And you really paid a lot of dues to get here. You were a silver medalist at the Olympics. You don't even talk about that.
Nah, that's not important.
In a sport that, our fans of this channel realize I'm fearless, except the sport that you played, basketball in a wheelchair, basketball in a chair that will hurt you, that people will run into you, and I'll go, ow, and break your hands, and just, it didn't bother you, Jeff. And I know you've recently left the basketball court, which was a great decision because you didn't have anything else to prove.
Yeah, I did leave the basketball court, and I left that world of striving and trying and plowing to try to be bigger, faster, stronger. And what I've learned is, I've learned how to compete, but I've learned that we're not supposed to live in a world of competition. We should be living in a world of cooperation. And instead of doing transactional things, we need to do transformational things. And so, that is my purpose. That is my passion, is to help people overcome this mental paralysis. And some people are like, I'm just lost. And I'm like, well, great. Guess what? We have some tools. The first step is to find out what you want. The second step is to, develop a desire that matches up with your dreams. And then the third step is just to take that step, because so many people want to accomplish their dreams all at once, and you can't consume the whole elephant in one bite, but you can consume it over a handful of bites. But who eats elephants anyway? So anyways, I just want to leave your listeners with this last thing here, if I can, Justin, and that is, chase down your dream inch by inch, because inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. So do every mile with a smile.
There you go. There you go. And it's griffinmotivation.com. Double effing Griffin. And Jeff, I'm sincerely grateful you've been here. You've met our audience here. And I want you to know that you left me better than you found me. So everybody, this is Jeff Griffin. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information will be in the Read More.